Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to do a multi-flow thinking map, and it's going to be regarding industrialization. So let's go ahead and get started. A multi-flow map is basically a cause and effect map. So it's a great way to organize your thoughts when it comes to figuring out what causes lead to effects. Okay, so let's start with industrialization. I'm going to switch cameras to get a better shot at the board. All right, here we go. Let me make sure it's in focus. I think it's pretty good. Yeah. All right, so here we go. All right, so the topic that we're going to do, the cause and effect multi-flow map, is industrialization. And the basic definition of industrialization is handmade goods to machine-made goods. Okay, that's going to go in the middle. All right, and we're going to be primarily focusing in on the 19th century. Okay, and of course the 19th century is the 1800s. Okay, first of all, in order for industrialization to take place, you have to have plenty of natural resources. And America had plenty. And so we know that back in the 19th century, coal was essential. Iron, and later oil. Okay, so if you have those natural resources, you can make a lot of goods. Of course, we have lots of cotton for fabric, we have trees for timber, plenty of resources in North America. All right, so in order for industrialization to take place, you have to have plenty of natural resources. You also need for it to take off, you need improved transportation. And of course, we've learned by this point that the Transcontinental Railroad plays an important role getting the coal, getting the iron, getting the goods to market. And that Transcontinental Railroad connected the East Coast to the West Coast and created a national market. That was needed for industrialization to take off in the 19th century. You also need a growing population, which America had a huge influx during this time of immigrants coming from Southern and Eastern Europe. And they spoke different languages other than English. They were Catholic and Jewish, where most people here were Protestant Christians. So there was some nativism going on, some conflict between peoples because of different cultures. So you had migration, which is what was going on was urbanization from the country, so the rural, to the cities to urban. Of course, that is called urbanization. And then we have immigration, and that was coming primarily into Ellis Island, New York, by the millions. Okay, so we had a growing population that was needed to work in those factories. Okay? All right, so that was needed for the industrialization of the 19th century. You needed, what was feeding into it was lots of inventions and innovations. which every time you have an invention and an innovation, you're going to have more jobs because you need the factories to build those new inventions and innovations, especially when we get electricity in homes. But that doesn't come till later, like 1920s primarily. Okay, so entrepreneurs were starting new businesses and creating more jobs. Okay, so that's needed in order to cause industrialization. And lastly, on this side, we're going to put government support. See it? Zoom back. Okay. All right. So we've got government support. Which the government provided loans and support for infrastructure. Okay, so providing those railroad lines and land for the railroad lines and the way the government was run also. So policies that would be encouraging business, or the lack of policies that help businesses grow. Okay? All right, so, and those are the causes. So now on the other side, what's going to come out will be the effects of industrialization. All right, so first of all, the effects will include mass production. Okay, so when you have mass production of goods, it creates a lot of profit. And it lowers prices. And people can afford to buy more products, such as more clothes. Back in the day, people didn't have very many shirts, pants, dresses, because they were so expensive, and most people made their own clothes. But this is going to lower the price to where the average person can buy more stuff. So more people working, more paychecks, more stuff. It's feeding it. It's like it's feeding itself. Industrialization is. It also needed it also created a national market, and really leading into an international market, more so. Okay, so the international market, trains transported goods from coast to coast. All right, so it also led to urbanization, especially this rural to urban population shift, moving from the farms to the cities. Tractors took the place of jobs on the farms, and they had to force people to move to the cities. And plus, it worked out because the factories were needing the manpower. So, and that's called urbanization. Which leads to some issues. Overcrowding, and that was in those tenement buildings, tenement housing. Okay, tenements, there were those brick buildings that were like 6 or 8 stories tall, very crowded and dark and disease-ridden and very dangerous. Fires started all the time. And very unsanitary conditions. Cities are not ready for such a population shift. It's brand new to have cities that size. and it leads to nativism. Remember that nativism is the people who were already here, the natives, not Native Americans, but immigrants that came, they were like the old immigrants. They'd been here for a long time, or discriminating the new immigrants coming in. Okay? And that's urbanization. Okay? And then we have more factories are built because more inventions and more innovations, more factories, more jobs. That's an effect of industrialization. And lastly, laissez-faire. Policies. Okay? So you have monopolies and trusts. And remember, a monopoly and trust are when a major industry is controlled by one entity. Okay, and that can affect the prices and quality of service. Which monopolies, you need to keep an eye on those things because it does cause problems with prices for the consumers and service. Okay, it leads to low wages and unfair unsafe working conditions. Back in the day, there were no compulsory laws, so there was a problem with child labor, especially working in those coal mines and sweatshops. And back in those days, everybody in the family had to work to make ends meet. And of course, lots of air and water pollution, because there were no regulations back in the day. And this is a multi-flow map on the topic of industrialization. So that's how you create one. All right? Thank you for watching.